and welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching, I don't do the touching. Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this and any other conversation I ignite going over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad, because I'm mad about movies and TV. Get it? Over on my Vero at Big Mouth 1. And the extension to this channel is my Instagram, Big Mouth. So welcome to Tuesday's edition of the dceu Daily. And guess what? The Superman hot takes won't stop. Even Neil Gaiman's getting in on the act. But my good friend, well, he's not really my good friend, but I wish he was my friend. He's like someone I admire. Shiraz Faruqi has actually done another article for Screen Rant. I love this guy's article. And this is the title of his article. Warner Brothers shouldn't struggle making Superman relevant. Man of Steel already did it, which he did. But that is a kind of a popular opinion with us fans, DCEU fans, but an unpopular opinion with diehard Superman fans. So let's look at this. Warner Brothers shouldn't struggle to make Superman relevant for audiences, since Man of Steel already did that for them. The studio is reportedly confused on how the iconic superhero relevant to today's world. The character has survived and thrived for 80 years for a variety of reasons, primarily because of how universally relevant he's always been. In 2013, Zack Snyder answered the question that no Superman director truly did since Richard Donner himself. The key to making Superman relevant is to drop him into our real world and let the story build off from the thesis. Man of Steel made Superman relevant to the 21st century, so Warner Brothers shouldn't be struggling to find a solution to a problem that has already been solved. It's important to say that Zack Snyder didn't work on this film alone. Love him as much as I do. This comes from a story, an idea from David Goyer, co-written by the great, epic, legendary Christopher Nolan. The story came from them, not Zack. Now, Zack, his directing style, the way the film looks, the colour palettes, that's all him. But the story is from Chris Nolan and David Goyer. It's important you know this, and when you talk about this film, whether it's positively or negatively, you remember, without David Goyer's idea for this Man of Steel movie, while him and Chris were trying to break The Dark Knight Rises, there would be no Man of Steel. So I love Zack Snyder, but without David Goyer having the idea, there would never have been a DCEU. Let that sink in for a minute. The question of Superman's relevance on a holistic level is strange. Superman has been a core part of pop culture for almost a century. From the moment they hit the comic pages in 1938, Superman was relevant to people at that time, and he continued to be relevant throughout the rest of the century. Then he became a worldwide sensation with Christopher Reeve's Superman, quickly becoming a household name. Superman has enjoyed multiple stints in animation, live action, films and television since then, not to mention having strong numbers in merchandise sales. All of this being said, Superman is clearly relevant to the world right now. So why does Warner Brothers reportedly have trouble with the character? Well, because they're idiots, mate. They're bums. To look at things from their point of view, they relaunched Superman in 2013 with Man of Steel, following up with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and finally Justice League before temporarily shelving the character. To them, these three films didn't work. When peeling back the layers, there is a lot more success than failure present. Man of Steel generated $668 million. And as I said yesterday, that was a great figure. Comparably to other superhero origin movies, $668 million globally was actually comparable. And the only film really it stood behind was Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. So at the time, that figure was awesome. But studios are greedy, and they believe Superman should be making $1 billion, and he would have done. But because some diehard Superman fans were against this version of Superman, this is why it didn't make more money. But this money, this box office, is amazing, by the way. Batman v Superman followed it up to $872 million before Justice League fizzled with $657 million. Throwing Justice League out of the equation, the other two entries did solid numbers. Clearly, audiences showed up to see the films, While critical reception was lacking, not much else was arbitrary, goals of 1 billion aside. Both sides performed up to a standard at the time. Historically and economically, Superman has proven to be relevant. Absolutely true. Story-wise, Man of Steel made Superman the most relevant he could have possibly been. The character of Superman works best when responding to the era he was placed in. Superman the movie is firmly placed in a post-Vietnam America. Audiences were looking for a strong, idealistic sense of hope, and Christopher Reeve provided just that under Richard Donner's vision. Their Man of Steel responded to America in 2013, with Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan setting out to tell a Superman story that embedded the most iconic American fictional character into a world that wouldn't accept him. In other words, Superman has firmly placed in our world. This Superman grew up in the 1980s and made his debut to the world in post-9/11 society. The part of Superman that needed to shine most was his immigrant roots, and that is exactly what the film did. Agreed. Man of Steel is essentially a story about an illegal immigrant who was sent by his parents to America for a chance to survive, even if it meant the end of their own lives. That immigrant is adopted by a kind American couple raised with the right morals and guidance. His adopted parents, knowing how broken the world is, go through many lengths to protect this illegal immigrant from being discovered and in turn hurt. He then goes on journey of self-discovery, is forced to choose between two cultures, battle through the worst of both, and eventually decide to be the bridge between them. Overall, a future Superman film can and should touch on these themes more. Superman's immigrant story shouldn't be left to just 2 films, and there is a lot more to tell using that platform. That Superman brings. Ultimately, Warner Brothers shouldn't struggle with creating a relevant Superman story. The blueprint has been sitting right there in 80 years of history. He's spot on. There is so many hot takes right now, it's making me dizzy. And some of the people coming up with hot takes and saying Man of Steel and Batman v Superman were bad takes, when they say their takes, they're exactly the same. This is how dumb, this is how stupid these people are, and it's beyond me how they get up in the morning. But what's worse is to crap over somebody else's work. This superiority these blue check marks think they have, that they actually haven't. Look, you all know how I feel about Superman. You know he's my #1 character. You know I've been in love with this character since I was 10 years old. You know that I have a pinned tweet about my movie idea. I'm sure you've read it. I've done loads of videos reading it out on here. You know how I feel about Superman. I think there's lots of ways you can make this guy relevant, but the point is he's already relevant. And this argument that he's boring, that people are not interested in him, is hollow ground. The point is next, there needs to be a film where everyone can go to the cinema and enjoy him. That's important to the studio. We've had Man of Steel was a real world way of doing it. But I think now we definitely have to look and say, right, let's make a Superman film for everyone. How you do that? A bit of Man of Steel, a bit of Superman the movie, a bit of thinking outside the box. And this is why in my story I made him over 1,000 years old. Because then he has memories. He's walked on our world for so long. We can have very, very interesting flashbacks, like in my story, when we flash back to the governments of the world asking Superman to kill Hitler. And he refuses because there's a big commentary in my story about his no-kill policy, and we see it. And this is why I decided to bring Manchester Black and the Elite into my story, because in Superman vs. the Elite, the comic and the animated film, Manchester Black just can't understand why Superman doesn't kill, and it becomes a bone of contention. And I think one of those things you have to do is put his no-kill policy on trial. Now, in a way, Man of Steel did that, but there wasn't much debate within the film about that, which absolutely shocks me, by the way. I think if Superman's going to kill, at least make it a big deal within that universe. And they didn't really do that. And then you could just, then the characters in the film could be having the same debate that we were. And by the way, it was a fascinating debate. But also, my idea of Superman doesn't have to be a movie. In fact, it could be even better as a TV show. You know the Highlander character. He'd been around for thousands of years. He had backflashes either in his movies or his TV show, which I loved as well. That went for about 6 seasons. And what you do by having a character who's thousands of years old, He's experienced. There's a reason, he's a little bit all-knowing, but also he's a little bit off sync. He can be behind the times as well. So there's lots of elements you could do with Superman. And in a TV series every week, he could be flashing back to different times where he was alive. And I think it would be it's a very interesting concept. But does Superman need an interesting concept right now? Here's the question about it. Should we just do an easy Superman movie just to get people interested in Superman again, just to hit the 1 billion mark? Then we can be more deep and interesting after the character is, I suppose, relevant to more people. Because, let's be honest, nobody gave a shit about Iron Man before 2007 or whenever it was released, right? But then Robert Downey Jr. captured people's imagination. And I've got so much more about Superman to talk about today because apparently Warner Brothers are looking to cast a young 26-year-old actor. And this actually knocked me for six when I read this last night. Warner Brothers is reportedly eyeing a 26-year-old to replace Henry Cavill as Superman. Now, to be honest with you, Men's Health magazine isn't exactly a place for breaking movie or even Superman news. They did have a great interview with Cavill. This is an interesting article. Let's give it a read. If the rumours are true, David Corenswet is first in line to become the new Man of Steel. According to the reporting last week, Warner Brothers has been compiling a list of potential actors to succeed Henry Cavill as Superman. Atop the list, American actor and Cavill lookalike David Corenswet, 26. Corenswet, who stars in Netflix The Politician, told Entertainment Weekly that it was his pie-in-the-sky ambition to play Superman. Though he praised Cavill's iteration, Corenswet said he wanted to see an upbeat throwback version of the hero. That's interesting. Now, has he already been talking to J.J. Abrams? And is this being put out there? Or are they just putting two and two together and getting 600? And that's why they're trying to say this kind of thing, which may be not true. Who knows what's going on? But it's interesting. By all other accounts, Henry Cavill is still very much the dark, moody Man of Steel. The 36-year-old British actor last appeared in Superman in 2017's Justice League, and though no upcoming Clark Kent project has been announced, Cavill is confident that the role is still his. In our December covers story, Cavill told us he's still not done with the role. I've not given up the role, he said. There's a lot I have to give for Superman yet. But whether or not Cavill wants to keep the cape may not matter. The actor currently tied to Netflix, The Witcher, a project that will keep him at least another year. It was recently renewed for a second season. The series, following a multi-book franchise, will likely be engaged on separate projects for the near future. Not that this engagement should matter, as former Superman Christopher Reeves played the character into his 40s. But studios grow impatient, and though it would be a risky casting decision in replacing a fan favourite Cavill, Warner Brothers is reportedly shopping around. The studio has already recast Batman with Robert Pattinson, and J.J. Abrams was rumoured months earlier to be searching for another younger actor to play Superman. Corenswet, however, doesn't seem any less busy than Cavill. He's likely to be He's likely completing the second season of The Politician, and he's slated to appear in Ryan Murphy's upcoming series Hollywood. Corenswet will also need months to train if he wants to Cavill-fire the rest of his body, which we imagine would be his most difficult test. It's not a tiny cape to fill. Right, first of all, let me say something. Actors can do more than one project and do a movie franchise, right? Chris Hemsworth this year was in the Men in Black International, and he was in Avengers Endgame, right? So you can be in two different projects and still be available by the schedules that said studio and directors want you. Now, they mentioned this with they're both busy doing TV. Listen, at the end of the day, actors can do multi-projects. So many actors do it. So don't listen to that crap that Henry Cavill's tied up with The Witcher. Yes, he can film. He's filmed season 1 of The Witcher. That other season won't go out maybe till next year. They can do that, and he can, and then he'll be free for Superman. So at the end of the day, there's nothing stopping an actor being on a TV series and being in movies as well. So that's absolute nonsense. Now, this David Corenswet is interesting because he's not exactly a lad. You would have, it's not exactly clickbait, is it? I mean, the Superman element is clickbait because everyone wants to click to find out what's going on about Superman, which actually makes him relevant, right? So I've seen a picture of him. I've quickly seen a couple of his performances. He's interesting. He is interesting. He's a really, really good actor. If it is not possible, look, the only way the studio won't use Henry is if they don't want to use Henry. If JJ doesn't want to use Henry. Now, apparently he was one of the options that he may have cast in Superman Flyby. But listen, they might be looking, I think the problem that Warner Brothers have got now and JJ will have, after what they did to his face and his upper lip, right, in Justice League, they may feel that it's gone too far, that they can no longer use him and they need to start again. And I said this straight after Justice League as well. I just felt Affleck and Cavill would eventually be gone. So if they do choose David Corenswet, interesting surname, I'm fine with the guy they're planning to replace him with. I'm not fine with Cavill being replaced. But at the end of the day, I am desperate for a Superman film and a great Superman movie. I was happy with both MOS and BVS. I will be devastated if Henry is replaced. But if that's what it takes to get a brand new Superman movie, I'm sorry. I'm more of a Superman fan than a Cavill fan. And I apologise for that. So, part of the reason that all these Superman hot takes have kicked off was because of the Variety article, but then Scott Mendelson got into the act over on Forbes. Now, Scott is very political when he talks about films, and I don't like that. I respect him as a journalist. He's very good. He has done a really good article here, which I should have read to you a couple of days ago. So I'm going to do it now, and then I'm going to read what Neil Gaiman said about the whole thing. He doesn't say much, a couple of lines, but I will read out. So let's read this Forbes article. DC Films still doesn't know what to do with Superman. Just think about that title. I've discussed it with you already. It is disgusting that a studio of the seniority of Warner Brothers doesn't know how to make a film about such an awesome character. I've just told you what I would do. Now, even if you think that's a crap take, I've got an idea. Why don't they have ideas? Why aren't they passionate about this awesome character? Anyway, in a recent piece in Variety delved into the future of Warner Brothers DC Films. The studio have long earned their lesson from failure of Justice League, emboldened by the success of Joker, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman. Suicide Squad is being rebooted. Harley Quinn is starring in her own supervillain spin-off. A new Batman is on the horizon, and the Joker is more popular than ever. The studio is even giving Green Lantern another shot. But the future of Superman is murky, and it shouldn't be. The studio reportedly unsure how to make the character relevant to modern audiences. It's despicable, isn't it? If true, by the way. Michael B. Jordan has pitched a fresh take on Superman, and the master of franchise reboots, J.J. Abrams, has had multiple discussions with the studio regarding the character. His solar-powered abilities no doubt providing exciting new opportunities for lens flares. You had to do that, didn't you, Scott? But with no script or director attached, insiders believe that a new Superman film is unlikely to appear before 2023. Do you know what I think? They're going to fast track a Superman film. They're going to cast a new actor. I'm starting to think this, but then you've got Henry Cavill in the Men's Health article so confident that he's going to play Superman again. So what is going on? We don't know. It's actually quite exciting. Ooh, the mystery. Anyway. It's interesting that Superman, a character instinctively associated with the word superhero, is proving difficult to adapt to film in the age of superhero saturation. Is the character's godlike powers and righteous attitude really too alienating for modern audiences? No! That's part of his allure. As a kid, his superpowers and him being alien were actually two of the things that made me fall in love with the character. That's usually the argument against Superman, and it's a shit argument, by the way. But it doesn't really explain his sudden absence from the big screen. After all, Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Captain America are incredibly popular and all share that childlike earnestness, the boldness, optimism that defines Superman. So why isn't the man still thriving among his fellow do-gooders? It's all about what you do, right? It's all about Look, Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan and David Goyer had an idea. Man of Steel, BVS. Let them follow through with that idea. Say, please, once you finish your arc, we need you to go so we can do something new, something that embraces everyone, so everyone can come to the cinema and we can make $1 billion a picture. But they should have allowed that Superman arc to follow through because the money was solid enough and they were making enough to justify them continuing with it. But they're idiots, as I say, they are bums. Part of the problem might be his ferociously absurd mythology. What? One that is difficult to fully embrace without shifting the tone to comedy. I can easily imagine Bizarro or Krypto, the Superdog, appearing in a sequel to Shazam, but not a Superman film. Superman's lore might be ridiculous, but he's not meant to be a joke. First of all, his lore isn't ridiculous. His lore is amazing. It's logical. He's from another planet. He's been brought up on Earth. So what's... Oh, Scott, you do... It's a good article, by the way, but that was just stupid. But here's the thing with Mendelsohn. He's not really a film fan. He's more of a box office analyst. That's his strength. And I would say to him, stick to your strengths anyway. In contrast, Man of Steel took Superman very seriously indeed. The character navigating the complexities of the modern world. But the film didn't feel true to Superman's personality. What personality? Oh, in the comics you mean, in Superman the movie. I think that's what he's trying to say. Right, that's going to start off a few arguments, isn't it? Probably already has. Zack Snyder's somber vision of Krypton with its phallic spaceships and scally outfits was unintentionally even sillier than Shazam. What? Oh, Scott, you embarrass yourself, mate. You really do. This is what I mean. Knows absolutely nothing about film. Anyway, this stuff should be rendered in bright colours, and the costumes should be as outlandish as they are in the comics. That's what a lot of people say. I don't agree. I think some of the outfits the council were wearing, maybe, the little thing with the things going around it, maybe was a bit too far. But still, I don't have real issue with the costumes, and they certainly weren't silly. And it's this idea that you should copy and paste the comics. I think an intelligent studio could actually say to the audience, we have a multiverse. We could do darker Superman and a brighter copy and pasted comic book version as well. But these people don't have any vision. Let's see in the future, in the next few months, if these things are announced. Who knows? Snyder genuinely tried to redesign Superman's costume into something more sleek and intimidating, but there's not much you can do with an outfit that looks like pyjamas. Oh, God. He's definitely not a Superman fan, especially when it's as iconic as Superman suit. You can't make too many changes, and you certainly can't make it look cool. Well, that's funny, because Snyder did make it look cool, by the way. And by the way, the Superman costume's cool, all right? And it's cooler than your ridiculous smile on your profile picture, mate. Anyway, and that's the thing about Superman. He's not cool. Yes, he is. He's not funny. He's not edgy. Oh, God. Unlike Captain America, he was never one of us. Like Wonder Woman, he's meant to be a beacon of hope in a dreary world, but he's significantly sillier than Wonder Woman. Why does he keep on saying that Superman's silly? Just as silly as Thor. Thor isn't silly. And Shazam, but unable to pull off the irony. Oh, God. Obviously, this is a generalization, as Superman means different things to different people. Exactly. And any character, no matter how quaintly optimistic, should be able to thrive, given the right story. Exactly. But Superman occupies a very specific niche, a serious symbol of hope dwelling inside a bizarre universe. He doesn't seem to share Batman's malleability. The Dark Knight can switch between deadly serious and absurd to suit the times, while Superman remains stubbornly consistent. And in this crowded superhero landscape, Superman doesn't offer anything unique. Yes, he does. He preceded and inspired many of these characters, but nowadays he feels like a relic from a bygone age. No, he doesn't. A time when a pair of glasses could be considered a disguise. Well, do you know what? It depends how closely people see Superman, so that disguise can work. But what I think they did with Man of Steel, with Lois Lane, you saw him up close, you knew who he was straight away. They didn't make a big deal out of it, so when he does take on that disguise, it's not a big deal because the other people haven't seen him close up. Funnily enough, Aquaman was in a similar situation, weighed down by the baggage of a much-mocked mythology, but Aquaman's brand was rebooted with the help of the beardy tattooed Jason Momoa, who seems like he'd be a blast to grab a beer with. Superman, however, will never be that guy. He can't be changed into a party animal. Superman has endured through the decades as an unchanging icon of hope. But that simplicity is proving an obstacle to cinematic success. Man of Steel was a cinematic success. It wasn't a groundbreaking, record-breaking one, but it was still successful. Christopher Reeve's Superman, released in the late 70s, was a faithful depiction of the character that proved immensely popular with audiences. Arguably, the film was the first step towards today's crowded superhero landscape. And standing amongst the diverse, interesting superheroes that fill the cinema, Superman feels more like an archetype than a fleshed-out character. Perhaps the Man of Tomorrow needs to take a decade away from the screen. The audience needs to miss him again. Oh, God! God. I'll tell you what, this article seemed a whole lot better when Chris Swenson from Ping Pong Flicks was reading it. This is a terrible take, an absolute terrible take. And here's the thing, right? He says that you can't do whatever you want with Superman. A writer or creative can take any direction they want with a character and Superman, but it just all depends on us, the consumer, if we're going to embrace it. It's clear to me that Man of Steel wasn't wholeheartedly embraced. Cavill's Superman wasn't wholeheartedly embraced. We can't deny that, as much as we love it, right? We get that. So, as a studio, they have this situation, and it's this crap again. He's not relevant. Give him a decade away. In a decade, I'll be 67 years old. No. Hang on. No, I won't be 67 years old. I'm 47. I'll be 57. I'll be 3 years away from 60. My maths was never my strong point, by the way. But the point being, Superman doesn't need a break. You know what? I'll give you a hot take. Superman should be oversaturated. Yes, Warner Brothers. You should oversaturate him. You've got a Superman TV show coming. You should bring back Krypton. You should relaunch Smallville. You should have you should have the Cavill version. You should have this new actor playing a copy and pasted comic book version. You should oversaturate cinema and media with Superman, and you would make money. He's awesome. He should be your front and centre. I am fed up of these hot takes, because most of these hot takes are not coming from Superman fans. That's the worst thing. When you've got all these hot takes talking about something and someone you actually love, who, when you came home after getting your face kicked in, after being bullied every day, meant something to you. This character means something to millions of people around the world. And I'm sick and tired of your hot takes. They're not relevant. Hopefully, all this crap coming out that Warner Brothers don't know what to do with him is BS. And it looks like they have been talking to J.J. Abrams. I at least do believe that they are going to fast track a movie, and JJ is going to be behind that. And with the rumour from the Men's Health magazine, it looks like he may recast Superman 2. Look, I love Henry, as I've already said. I want a Superman film. I want him oversaturated. I want him everywhere because he's so awesome and epic. He should be Warner Brothers' front and centre character. So here's crossing our fingers. And as for the hot takes, people, it's time to start ignoring them, because these people will talk about anything that's trending. Well, here's Neil Gaiman's take. You don't make Superman relevant, you make him inspiring. In fact, he says you don't make it. Basically, Neil Gaiman is obviously a very proficient storyteller. They even offered him the Doctor Who showrunner role, which he said no to. And the problem is, Neil, when you say something to another awesome character that you could have done some awesome things with, it kind of makes me wonder. Maybe you weren't offered enough money. Anyway, yes, you created Sandman, a very, very popular character as well. And they're doing a Prime Video TV series. I will be watching that, by the way. Neil Gaiman's an amazing storyteller, but at the end of the day, I don't need your hot take on Superman. I don't need anyone's hot take on Superman apart from mine. And I'll be very interested what J.J. Abrams got to say, because he's going to be the next filmmaker, whether you like it or not, who will be dealing with this amazing character. Here's a message from the woman who's going to be my wife after she divorces her husband.
Hey everyone, I'm Gal Gadot. I'm here to let you all know that something very exciting is coming your way this Sunday, December 8th. You can get in on the action before anyone else by commenting below with a photo of your fiercest Wonder Woman pose. Then tune in right here to watch it all unfold. See you Sunday.
So this is very, very interesting, by the way. And yeah, thank you to my future wife. I'm joking, don't get offended. Anyway, especially you, Gal. I mean, you never know what could happen in the future. But anyway, right. So really, the Wonder Woman marketing machine, the Wonder Woman 1984 marketing machine has started now. So what they're asking you to do is, they've got this as a pinned tweet. So all you have to do, right, is literally take a photo or a video of you going like that, like Wonder Woman does in the first Wonder Woman movie. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I might do it. I'll think about doing it, and I don't know what's going to happen. I think they're going to show them off in the Brazil Fan Expo this weekend. So as we know, this Sunday, Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot will be there. I think a day on the Thursday, American Thursday, by the way, so I don't know. That might even be Friday here in Europe. But anyway, we've got Margot Robbie turning up, and the director of Birds of Prey, The Emancipation of One, Harley Quinn, as well. But there's also a proper official Warner Brothers panel, and I'm not sure what day this weekend, but it's all part of the Fan Expo in Brazil. Now, apparently, there's going to be a surprise. Now, I've noticed some people already saying, oh, they're going to announce the Snyder Cut. I hear this so often. I hear this every time. Look, it's not going to happen. They're not going to announce the Snyder Cut. I would love them to do it, but it's not going to happen. You're going to find that Warner Brothers are going to start revealing a lot of the stuff they're going to be putting on HBO Max and their plans for next year as well. Now, listen, if I'm wrong about them announcing the Snyder Cut, I will apologise. And there's nothing more that I would love for Warner Brothers to say, we're doing it. But I can't see them happening. So I think there'll be some surprise announcements. There's going to, look, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. The Wonder Woman 84 marketing machine has started, and that's really exciting. And I really do approve of their marketing plan. We've seen posters of the cast, like, kind of dressed like the Breakfast Club and laying down like the Breakfast Club poster, which is amazing. So we're really getting that 80s feel. I can't wait for us all to experience this Wonder Woman trailer. So yeah, really, really excited about the Brazil Fan Expo this weekend. Warner Brothers are going to be there. Who knows what they're going to say? Could be really DC related. It looks like it's saying that Birds of Prey are going to be represented there and Wonder Woman 1984. So I'm really excited for the trailers. I'm excited to see what these creatives and actors have got to say as well. And this will be the first place you'll hear about anything. Did you enjoy the video? Please press like if you did. You can share the video. You can share the channel. Spread the word. And most important of all, keep on hashtagging Release the Snyder Cut. By the way, comment down below. What's your Superman hot take? I'd love to know.